Should the AFL officially bring back Retro Round as a league-wide themed round? I think they should, and today I'm going to show you the unique structure for Retro Round and which Guernsey each team should wear. So back in the 2000s, the AFL had a special themed round called Heritage Round, which saw each team wear a throwback Guernsey design from their history. In addition, both the field and goal umpires wore throwback uniforms as well. While the first Heritage Round was in 2003, the original idea came from the 1996 centenary season, when the 8 original teams from the VFL wore replicas of Guernseys they wore 100 years earlier. From 2003 to 2007, Heritage Round saw some great Guernseys, with Port Adelaide being able to wear the iconic prison bars, Brisbane wearing some Fitzroy and Bears Guernseys, Richmond wearing some designs without the sash, and even a team like Freo, who had only existed for around 10 years at this point, would wear Guernseys that represented the history of football in the town of Fremantle. As the years went on, difficulties started to arise when it came to Guernsey selection. The AFL started to give each Heritage Round a theme, with 2006 being themed around the 80s and 2007 being themed around the 70s. The problem with this was that for a number of the Victorian sides, their Guernseys hadn't changed all that much since those decades, and for most of the non-Victorian sides, they didn't exist prior to the 90s or late 80s. This led to the 2007 Heritage Round, where most teams didn't really get involved. From 2008 onwards, Heritage Round would be no more, and teams would only wear throwback Guernseys if and when they chose to. Over recent seasons, we've seen teams start to bring back their own annual Retro Round Guernseys. Freo were one of the first to start the trend, with them not only wearing a retro Guernsey, but with the entire game being themed around this. They played the original version of their team song and used old logos and colours on the scoreboard at the game. Other teams like the Bulldogs, Hawthorn and Port Adelaide have all followed suit in recent seasons, with West Coast already confirming that they'll be doing the same in 2024. At this point, it just makes sense for the AFL to have a league-wide Retro Round, as most teams have Guernseys from the 90s and 2000s that now qualify as retro jumpers, while even Gold Coast and GWS have some older designs they could revisit from their 10 years of history. So what should Retro Round look like in this day and age? Well, the AFL should definitely ditch the idea of themes. Don't limit what decade the designs have to be from, just let teams pick the ideal design from any point in their history. That way any team can get involved and every Guernsey looks somewhat different from the current day jumpers. Secondly, I wonder if it would make sense for Retro Round to follow the lead of Sir Doug Nicholls' round and be spread over 2 rounds. That way teams won't have to worry about issues like jumper clashes if their chosen design doesn't match up well against one of their Retro Round opponents. This also allows every team to host a Retro Round game and really get behind the fun of the round, similar to how Freo has done with their use of the old song, colours and logos. Now I'll give you my picks for what each team should wear in Retro Round if it were happening in 2024. For the Crows, I'd bring back the away jumper they wore from 99 to 2005. Since Adelaide's best retro jumper is now their current Clash jumper, I feel this away Guernsey is the next best option. For Brisbane, I've chosen Fitzroy's mid-90s pre-season jumper. Not one of my favourite designs and a pretty ugly jumper, but I think part of the fun of the recent retro jumpers has been embracing some of these so bad it's good sort of designs. On to Carlton, and I've gone with their 90s M&M Guernsey. Part of my reasoning behind this is that I kinda hope it'd make the Blues realise how going back to a sky blue Clash jumper could look great for them. For Collingwood, I chose a swooping Magpie Guernsey. I'm going to keep banging on about this jumper until they bring it back full time. For the Bombers, I've gone with the fat sash jumper from the late 2000s. This team really has the most boring Guernsey history. For Freo, I chose the old purple haze jumper. It'll be interesting to see what Freo do for their annual Retro Round in 2024, as they've kind of exhausted all their options, with the exception of this purple haze jumper and the white Clash jumper from the mid-2000s. For Geelong, we've got this early 2000s away jumper, a nice blend of the classic kit with something a little bit different. For the Suns, it's got to be the wave jumper, a design they never should have gotten rid of. Another obvious one for the Giants, their original blue V jumper from their pre-AFL days. For the Hawks, we've gone with this early 2000s pre-season jumper, definitely a unique look, but one that also incorporates the style of the classic V jumper. Onto the Ds, and we've got this pre-season design, similar to their classic jumper, but also a unique look in their Guernsey history. For North, I've gone with the orange bounding Roo. Do North have the guts to do this, and would this one actually sell under the idea of so bad it's good? I suspect the Power will bring back their classic Premiership Guernsey before they start venturing into some of their unique Clash jumpers from the 2000s. For Richmond, this pre-season design seems to be the obvious choice. This one's actually not a bad design either, in my opinion. I thought this was a crazy choice for the Saints, but it turns out they've actually worn something like this as a training jumper not too long ago go. So maybe they would bring this one back. For the Swans, it's still got to be this pre-season jumper, still one of their more unique designs in their history. As I said before, West Coast are doing Retro Round in 2024, and I believe this jumper surely won the fan vote, so hopefully we see it make its return this season. For the Bulldogs, I still want to see this pre-season Guernsey get a run. I've always liked this design and it's something different from their typical hoops. As always, let me know your thoughts on Retro Round in the comments below.